Welcome to Eventful Endeavors, secrets to crafting the perfect celebration. If you're planning an event and looking for useful tips from industry experts, you're in the right place. So get ready to take some notes and we'll dive right in. This is Eventful Endeavors.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Eventful Endeavors podcast. I am your host, Jake, and it is my honor to introduce our guest for this episode, which is the events coordinator for one of Madison's most sought-after and historic venues, the Garver Feed Mill. This is Danielle LeVine. What's up, Danielle?
Hey, Jake. Thanks for having me.
Anytime. We've already bonded over the fact that we brought the same pen to this meeting. Purple power. All the way, right? Fantastic.
Yeah.
We're styling with our choice of accessories. We're ready to go. I'd love to jump in and just kind of hear a bit about you, kind of your background and how you got connected with Garver Feed Mill.
Sure. Okay. I guess I'll start from several years back. I always wanted to work in events, kind of weddings specifically, but I didn't see a clear way to do that. So after college at the University of Florida, I majored in marketing. I thought it was kind of generally applicable. I moved out to Madison to work as a project manager for a big corporation, but it wasn't exactly what I wanted to do. I liked the project manager parts of it, but not like any of the actual content or the whole corporate thing. So a few months in, I applied for a lot of local venues planning jobs. And I got this one, and I started as an event lead in training. So we have event lead is what we call the person in charge of the closing staff normally for our longer events like weddings. And then the event coordinator is the one who works with the clients in advance and then is at our events from the beginning, dinner normally if it's a longer event, or the whole day.
Okay, gotcha. So now you are on all-day status. Wire to wire.
Yeah, so it's kind of the better shift for weddings. I'm normally noon to 8 as opposed to maybe 6 p.m. to 1 a.m.
Gotcha.
But I started with the late shift.
Gotcha.
Yeah, occasionally I still take the late shift.
Yeah.
Every once in a while it's okay to have the day free. Yeah.
Totally. Hey, I love that. Kind of working your way from the bottom, came in, interested in weddings, but then using that project management background, that seems like a pretty good way to apply those skills, for sure.
Yeah.
Well,
definitely.
That's fantastic. I know that we've had such a great time working with you guys in the past weddings we've done last year. Absolutely gorgeous venue. If you'd love to, can you explain to some of our guests who maybe haven't experienced Garver Feed Mill, kind of what makes it special, what makes it unique?
Yeah. Garver Feed Mill is a restored feed mill from a long, long time ago. I hear from a lot of local Madisonians that they used to come here in high school and hang out and do things they probably weren't supposed to, and it was just a rundown old factory, basically.
Wow.
But it was restored and opened in 2019 as an event venue, but also there are other businesses here. There are a couple restaurants, spa, yoga studio, photographer, hair salon. All that stuff.
A lot of options. That's incredible. I had not heard that story about high school shenanigans taking place. So they really underwent a pretty big transformation from abandoned feed mill to now, which, kind of repurposed industrial is such a vibe these days that it truly is beautiful space. So
yeah, thank you.
Yeah, we love working there. I love going there outside of even private events. We've hung out a few times, a few of those shops. I know we got Ian's Pizza is great. I know there's some board games you can play. And then my wife loves to do the shopping. There's plenty of that there. But any other ways that people could kind of enjoy Garver Feed Mill without necessarily having a wedding or a private event booked there?
Yeah. So we try to make the most use of the space. So when there aren't private events, we often have events that are open to the public. This coming weekend, we have the Midwest Vintage Flea. So we do that twice a year for a Saturday and Sunday. Yeah, a vintage clothing fest, basically. But we also
it's kind of taken over by a lot of vintage clothes.
Yeah, it takes over the event spaces. We also do concerts. Some are free, some are ticketed. We do, recently we've been piloting a parent-child happy hour. So the parents can get drinks the parents can get drinks at Garver Lounge, and the kids can do different facilitated activities in the atrium, the biggest event space. It's something we did a few this past winter, and we're probably going to pick it up again late fall and this coming winter after weddings and other private events slow down again.
That's a really cool idea. That's a very cool idea. I love that. And the lounge is beautiful. I mean, won us over, of course, because there's a piano in the lobby, and we are doing pianos, guys. So that's a pretty sweet opportunity. But Killer Lounge, love the parent and child combo. That's a great activity for everybody. I know you got special stuff too. I know that you got a viewing party for the Top Chef Wisconsin going on there, right? That's what I saw that around the website.
Yeah, we have a couple of those coming up. Yeah, those are also open to the public. There will be a speaker and then you're viewing the TV show. Man,
that is so fun. That is so fun. I love it. Well, very cool. You got, if you haven't, you got to check out those spaces and check out their calendar because it really is. I mean, you can just see there's.
We also do cocktail classes. Yeah, so they're ticketed cocktail classes. Normally, like you can go in pairs or as a single person, and they teach you. Some of our bartenders teach you how to make several cocktails, and they're small appetizers, snacks served along the way.
I love it. I love it. No shortage of classy activities to be had at the Garver Feed Mill, let me tell you. You guys got to check it out. That's fantastic. Well, I love to pivot back to we're primarily weddings focused, podcast for our listeners who may be planning events in the near future. So love to kind of pivot back to some of the weddings that you guys do, and love to hear if there's any particularly fun ideas or themes you've seen recently at weddings that you've coordinated.
I think the best things to do at weddings are personalized customization pieces. Like I see a lot of Polaroid guest books these days, which is kind of unique, but it's becoming a little mainstream. So that you have a Polaroid on a table and then the guests take photos and glue it into the guest book. That one is fun.
That's like comes together in.
Yeah, they kind of make a scrapbook. Yeah. It's becoming a little mainstream, but it's still pretty good.
It's starting to blow up. I haven't seen that in particular, so not super mainstream yet. But I love they've seen that, and that fits right with customization. Is my favorite theme as well. With the duo and piano show, it's all about just picking the set list and having no idea what the show is. So anything that makes the guests feel like they're part of the experience, that's particularly cool. Pasting together a physical album in the process. That's pretty cool. Flip side of that coin, is there anything kind of cringeworthy or that you would not like to see again at a wedding that you've coordinated?
I don't know if I'd say, probably cringeworthy is when things just aren't planned or nobody's responsible for things. We don't require a wedding planner because you can do it here without it. We do everything venue related and related to rentals. We also do catering in-house. But the little things, sometimes little things might fall through the cracks. We try to make everybody prepared for everything. But we did once recently, the DJ only brought one mic, and then there were supposed to be only a couple speeches before dinner, but then someone else took the mic and started speaking. We were all ready for dinner, and nobody was sure what to do. Like all our wait staff was ready to start serving dinner, and the DJ didn't even have a mic to interject. So I ended up just going over to the head table and like whispering to a bridesmaid, like, should we wait for him to finish? Like you could tell it was going to be a really long speech. So we ended up just serving the food during the speech. Yeah. So we now are even more diligent about asking for just a day of contact, if not even a hired person. It could be like a friend, so that someone can make the executive decisions, so that we can make sure they're executed as wanted by the client.
Love that. That's a great tip. And I can speak to that from the DJ entertainer side of things. That's a terrible thing to have a rogue microphone going off with guests of the wedding. I always talk with people about, planning those speeches and not letting anybody get up there that's not on the specific list, etc. Because that'll get you.
But we rebound. Yeah.
You push through. Absolutely. That's wonderful. Well, speaking of the people who may be listening to the podcast, trying to find some tips, or they're starting their journey, someone who's just started wedding planning, with your experience, what advice would you give to somebody? Kind of first thing at the top of your head, someone who's just started planning their wedding.
I guess, come with questions. Like, you want vendors and venue to be transparent. I'm open to any questions. So don't be afraid to ask your questions. If you forget to ask when you're there, email them after, just so you know like what to expect, what you're paying for, so there aren't surprises there after you book a vendor.
That's an excellent piece of advice. Don't be afraid to ask those questions that are on your mind, and if as they come to you, to be reaching out. That's a great piece of advice. Wonderful, wonderful. And then the weddings that you're seeing over at Garver Feed Mill, any other kind of trends that you're seeing overall with the wedding industry?
Specifically in our space, we kind of have the aesthetic. You can see a little bit of the exposed brick. We do a lot of like mismatched vintage plates and silverware, and I see a lot of mismatched bud vases too. So instead of like big floral bouquets, like little vases with different kinds of flowers in them. I think people are, yeah, what were you going to say?
Like mismatch is like the theme, like things mismatching until they match almost. I've noticed that in some fashion and decor.
Kind of intentionally mismatched. When we set the tables with the mismatched vintage plates, I normally try to kind of alternate the more plain ones with the more decorated ones. So it is kind of intentionally mismatched. But
there's an art
I think
to
that
it.
kind
Yes,
of,
that makes sense.
yeah, it kind of ties back into the customization, doing what you want instead of thinking what am I supposed to do at this wedding. Like people often ask like, well, yeah, like what are we supposed to do here? And it's like, well, what do you want? It's your event. You're paying a lot of money for it. It doesn't have to be like the weddings you've been to or have seen in movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. So you really try and put the ball in the client's court and to execute their vision, as opposed to kind of pushing them into something you have planned.
Yeah, I mean, it reduces liability if they don't like what I propose, but if they need some help, we can give them some guidance.
I like that. No, I like that. But again, customization, putting the ball in the client's court, they get to bring their vision. You help them, bring it to life. That's very cool. That's lovely. Awesome. Well, how are you guys looking for it? You guys have a busy summer? How far in advance do you think couples should be knocking on your guys' door for reservations?
If you want a specific date, and maybe a year and a half at least, just because you never know if that certain date's going to get booked, but otherwise,
absolutely.
If you're shooting more for like a season or maybe a month even, probably a year for our venue. We are extremely booked this summer. It's super seasonal, I guess, because we're in Wisconsin. I'm coming from Florida. I wasn't fully expecting the seasonality of events here, but it's been pretty slow with the private events, but we're picking up end of April through end of October. Yeah. We're very busy. But we still do have some Saturdays next summer, 2025, are still available.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a big transition coming from Florida. Were you born and raised Florida? And said you've been to Wisconsin before moving?
I visited before moving, but born and raised in Florida. I moved here just over 2 years ago.
Just 2 years? Okay, so probably not fully acclimated to the winters yet.
I think my blood has gotten a little thicker already.
It does happen fast.
Yeah.
I feel like my third winter was the one that really kicked it. So.
Where are you from?
Virginia. So I was in Virginia before. So, well, East Coast.
They still have seasons, yeah. Some
snow, but not something crazy. Are you guys shut down during the winter, or is it just really slow for events?
No, yeah, we're open year round. It's just we do a lot of holiday parties in the winter, like company holiday parties. Totally. Yeah, but not a lot of people want to get married in the winter. We have a couple sprinkled in.
Yeah, totally. Fall is a seasonal site for us.
Yeah, we host the Dane County Farmers Market January through early April. So the same farmers market that's around the square, but with a little less vendors, a little fewer vendors, and that's every Saturday morning. Yeah. So we still are able to do evening events. We just have to have a quick turnaround of the space. Those Saturdays.
Man, that's for those who don't know, Dane County Farmers Market. It's the largest farmers market in the country, if I'm not mistaken. So in its version of the square, you get an abbreviated version of it at Garver Feed Mill over the winter, which goes so well with the agricultural theme you guys already got me in a repurposed feed mill. So that's great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Exactly.
Fantastic. Well, Danielle, I want to thank you so much for taking the time for being a guest in our podcast today, for all the hard work that you do executing people's visions over at Garver. I know I'm very much looking forward to our next one.
Of course, we're excited to have you all back.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And there was a discount, I believe, if you're listening to the podcast, that if you book before a certain time, was it end of May? You can get a certain discount off reserving Garver?
Yeah, 25% off select rental dates.
Check it out.
More info if you submit our inquiry form on the website or email the email there.
Perfect. Yeah, you heard it here first, folks. Get a discount, and if you're getting married in a couple of years, not surprising, Garver Feed Mill, again, one of the most sought after, super popular venue here in Madison. Thanks again so much for taking the time, Danielle. This has been the Eventful Endeavors podcast, you guys. We'll catch you this summer for all these weddings.
Bye.
Have a good one.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Eventful Endeavors, Secrets to Crafting the Perfect Celebration. We hope to have left you with some actionable ideas for your own event. If you like the show, please subscribe and definitely leave us a review. We read every comment. So until next time, happy planning and see you soon on Eventful Endeavors.